Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's story isn't just emotional, it's heartbreaking, shocking, and a warning to every parent who's ever given everything to their child, only to realize too late that love can be manipulated. My name's Margaret, I'm 62, and I thought I'd done everything right as a mother. I worked 2 jobs after my husband died, raised my only daughter Sophie with love, and built a small fortune from nothing. I didn't want her to struggle the way I did. So when she got married last year, I gave her my biggest gift, a house, a 5-bedroom home, fully paid for in her name. I thought I was giving her freedom. I didn't know I was giving away her peace. Sophie had always been gentle, the kind of girl who cried at old movies and called me every night just to say, "Good night, Mom." But everything changed when she met Ethan. He was charming at first, polite, helpful, even brought me flowers the first time we met. But there was something about his smile, something that didn't reach his eyes. Still, Sophie was in love, and I wanted her to be happy. So I stayed silent, even when little things bothered me, like how he'd always speak for her, or how she'd look at it before answering a question. When they got engaged, I told her I wanted to buy them a home. It was my late husband's wish, that Sophie would never have to worry about a roof over her head. I sold one of my properties and bought a lovely house in her name, all legal and above board. I remember her tears when I handed her the keys. She hugged me tight and whispered, "Mom, I'll never forget what you've done for us." Those words still echo in my mind, because she didn't forget. He did. For the first few months, everything seemed fine. I'd visit occasionally. The house was always spotless, and Sophie would smile and say, "We're doing great, Mom." But slowly, her calls became less frequent. When I'd message her, Ethan would often reply instead, "She's busy, Margaret. Don't worry." I started to feel like an outsider in my own daughter's life. Then one day, my neighbor, who lives a few streets from Sophie's house, called me. "Margaret," she said softly, "I don't mean to upset you, but I think you should come see something." Her tone chilled me. I drove over that same afternoon, heart pounding. When I reached the house, I saw a moving truck parked in the driveway, boxes everywhere. At first, I thought maybe Sophie and Ethan were moving somewhere new. But then I saw who was unloading the boxes. Ethan's parents, his sister, and even his uncle. I froze. I walked up the gate, and that's when I saw her, my Sophie, standing by the front door, tears streaming down her face. "Mom," she whispered when she saw me. Ethan's mother turned sharply, eyes cold, and said, "Oh, you must be Margaret. You don't need to worry. We're just making some changes around here." Changes? In a house I'd bought for my daughter? I asked Sophie what was happening, but before she could speak, Ethan stepped forward, smirking. "It's nothing to worry about, Margaret. We just thought it'd be nice for my family to stay here for a while." I looked around. His family wasn't staying. They were moving in. They'd already hung family photos on the walls and changed the curtains. Sophie's voice broke as she said, "Mom, I didn't know. I came home from work, and they were already here." Ethan glared at her. "Enough, Sophie," he snapped. That was the moment I knew my daughter wasn't living a marriage. She was living a trap. I wanted to take her away right then, but Ethan stood in my path. "You don't have a say here, Margaret," he said coldly. "The house belongs to Sophie, and what's hers is mine." His words burned. Legally, he wasn't wrong. They were married, and she owned the house. But emotionally, morally, it was theft. Not just of a home, but of her life. That night, Sophie came to my house, sobbing. She told me everything. How Ethan had been controlling her money, how he'd pressured her to sign financial documents she didn't understand, how his family had been planning this move for months. My blood ran cold. I asked to see the papers. When I read them, my heart stopped. Ethan had convinced her to sign a transfer of ownership, giving him joint rights to property. He'd used my gift to trap her. I called my lawyer the next morning. Luckily, because I had purchased the property myself and the transfer hadn't been fully registered, there was a window, a small legal crack I could use to reverse it. My lawyer acted fast, filing an injunction before the documents were finalized. 2 weeks later, we arrived with the court order. Ethan's family was shocked, shouting, threatening to sue. But the moment the officers stepped in and handed them the papers, it was over. The property reverted to Sophie's sole name, and Ethan was barred from any claim until further court review. When they left, Sophie fell into my arms and sobbed, "Mom, I thought he loved me." I stroked her hair and whispered, "Love doesn't control, darling. It protects." She filed for divorce soon after. It was ugly. He tried to fight, to twist her words, but the evidence of manipulation was overwhelming. The court ruled in her favor, and Ethan was left with nothing but his arrogance. Months later, Sophie redecorated the house. New colors, new life, new peace. She planted flowers in the front garden, the same ones I used to grow when she was a child. When I visited, she smiled for the first time in months. "It finally feels like home," she said. And as I watched her stand in the sunlight, free at last, I realized something. Sometimes the biggest betrayal doesn't come from enemies, but from those who smile beside you. But love, real love, a mother's love, fights back quietly, fiercely, and without fear. So yeah, I gave my daughter a house, but what I really gave her was a second chance. Thank you for listening. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because next week, I'm sharing the story of how Sophie found love again with someone who proved that not all hearts are cruel.